Friends, I greet you all. Pure attention regarding the peculiarities of Russian aggression of Russian Federation against Ukraine for today, this morning, 24th of June, 2022. Last 121st day fight of Ukraine for its sovereignty and independence from Russian Empire. A great war for freedom is an active phase. Regardless of increasing losses of personnel and equipment, Russians still have more than a force of defense and artillery by times, and it allows them to reach certain tactical successes. The main purpose of the enemy at this stage is reaching the administrative boundaries of Lugansk and Donetsk regions, keeping the captured regions of Zaporizhia, parts of Zaporizhia and Kherson regions, and sustainability of land corridor with occupied Crimean Peninsula. Also, Russia continues blocking sea communications of Ukraine in the northern western part of Black Sea. The hottest spots of the front line are settlements on the southern and southern-eastern directions from Severodonetsk. The enemy increased the amount of aviation flights due to strikes on Lysychansk and neighboring settlements. They ruined a lot of buildings. Under fire of Russian occupants, there following settlements: Borivska, Verkhnykamenka, Mykolaiivka, and Bilagora. Protivnik continues missile strikes on military and critical objects of civil infrastructure of Ukraine. In particular, there were missile strikes on objects in Kharkiv, Odessa, Dnipropetrovsk, Mykolaiv, Kherson, Lugansk, and Donetsk regions, also with wing missiles of X-59 and Onyx. Now briefly about operative situation. Donetsk direction. Armed forces of Ukraine are in heavy fight with massive Russian groups that consists of 8th and 58th Armies, Mobilization Reserve of 1st and 2nd Army Corps of Southern Military District, 2nd, 41st Armies, 90th Tank Division of Central Military District, 5th Army, 68th Army Corps of paratrooper VDV troops and other parts and detachments of enemy forces. The enemy tries to gain full control over Severodonetsk and continues offensive to try to surround our forces in near Lysychansk and block main logistic routes. There are heavy fighting. The enemy tries to hold in a settlement of near settlements Loskotivka and Oleksandrivka. Near Borivsko, Ukrainian fighters repelled the offensive of the enemy. On Bakhmut direction, there are fights near Mykolaiivka and Berestovo to lower the potential of Ukrainian military. The enemy used storm and army aviation and made an airstrike in direction of Klineve, Yakovlevka, and Pokrovsky. For anti-aircraft cover of offensive in Severodonetsk and Bakhmut directions from Russian Federation to the district of fighting, the Russians moved the battery of anti-aircraft systems C-300. Enemy tries to improve the technical conditions and to control the communication routes. In Opavlsky direction, armed forces of Ukraine detected and destroyed several saboteur groups of the enemy. Trying to bind the movements of our troops, enemy made a massive missile strike near Zolotan Niva, 11 kilometers to the eastern south of Velika Novosilka. Also, they used army and storm aviation. In Kramatorsk, Avdiivska, Kurakhivska, and Zaporizhsky directions, there were no active combat, but there is there is fire impact from the enemy to prevent movement of detachments of defense of Ukraine to other directions. In the framework of logistics and supplies of occupation forces, the enemy renews destroyed by the occupants' transport infrastructure and also demines the Berdansk seaport district and Equatorium that is adjacent to it. In Kharkiv direction, detachments of Ukrainian military is under constant artillery fire from Russian occupants. Thus, the enemy tries to prevent armed forces of Ukraine to reach the state border and in the rear of the occupant forces of Russia that act in Slovyansk direction. At any cost, the enemy tries to hold captured grounds. To that end, activizes activity of saboteur groups. Also, our intelligence fixes accumulation of forces and means of engineer detachments of occupants in the region of Veliki Burluk. In Slovyansk direction, Ukrainian forces repelled the assault of the enemy near Bogorodichne, Dolina, Vernopilya, and Kurulski village. Enemy troops from 1st Tank Army, 20th Army, Coast troops of Baltic Fleet, 29th, 35th, 36th Armies, and 68th Army Corps of Eastern Military region, and VDV paratroopers are trying to improve tactical positions of occupants and to find weak spots in defense of Ukrainian forces. The main purpose of the enemy here is to create conditions to renew the offensive in direction of Izum-Barvinkove and Izum-Slovyansk. To that end, occupants accumulate reserves in their rear. In particular, in Novoselivska, Kharkivska region, they have deployed a battery of Uragan MLRS. South Buski and Tarisky direction, the occupants hold captured positions and tries to prevent counterattack of our forces in Mykolaiv and Kherson regions. Mykolaiv direction, with support of artillery, of army aviation, the enemy conducts massive artillery strikes near Belokrinitsa, Lyubomirivka, Stepova Dolina, Posad Pokrovske, Kiselivska, Blagodatne, and Velika Artakove. In Kryvyi Rih direction, the aggressor makes a counter-battery fight with the help of MLRS Uragan and shot of objects of transport infrastructure near Apostolve. Volynski and Prolysky directions. The situation overall without changes. There are detachments of armed forces of Belarus, up to 7 battalions. They continue fulfilling tasks on guarding the Ukrainian-Belarusian border in Homel and Brest regions. According to information of the head administration of intelligence of under MOD of Ukraine, Belarus troops improved system of engineer fortification equipment of positions close to border of Ukraine and close to border of the European Union. Also, our intelligence informs that in the period since 22nd of June to 1st of July this year, with the draft groups, commissariats of Gomel region, there are mobilization drills. Speaking of this direction, currently, regretfully, the threat of use by Russians of cruise missiles from and missile strikes from Belarus, it remains. Syrskaya direction. Situation without special changes to cover Russian-Ukrainian border in Bryansk and Kursk regions of Russia. The enemy holds up to 3 battalion tactical groups from 1st Tank Army of Western Military Region and also has VDV paratroopers. Enemy shot with a major artillery strike near border regions of Chernihiv and Sumy regions. Also in the region of Yunakivka with MLRS Grad used fire ammo. Ignition ammo. Chernomorska and Azovska operation regions of the Black Sea and Azov. aggressor continues blockade of civil navigation in northern and western part of Black Sea. Ships of the Black Sea Fleet of Russia isolate the combat area and try to conduct recon. For the morning, in the equatorium of Black Sea, we identified 4 ships of enemy with caliber missiles. The possible strike, simultaneous strike, up to 32 rockets. At the same time, armed forces of Ukraine continue a defense operation and cause losses of enemy on all the directions where there's active combat. Only over the last 24 hours, Ukrainian troopers destroyed 100 occupants, 3 tanks, 5 armored vehicles, 3 artillery systems, 1 MLRS of the enemy, 2 UAVs of operative technical level, 5 units of automobile vehicles. The head General Staff of Ukraine informs that the biggest losses the enemy had on Slavyansk and Bakhmut directions. Overall, since start of full-scale invasion against Ukraine, Russia lost 34,530 people, 216 airplanes, and 183 helicopters. And that's not all the Russian losses. More detailed information you can see on our slide. It's all from my side. Thank you for your kind attention. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to heroes. Dear colleagues, please ask questions. Masgunder, Reuters. Can you confirm or deny information that in Lugansk region, and here's key, there are surrounded about 2,000 of Ukrainian troopers. They're encircled. Where did you get that info? Ministry of Defense of Russia today. Well, you answered your question. Please, next question. We confirm good day. From which settlements the Ukrainian forces advised to evacuate for civilians, the advice of evacuation for civilians. Armed forces of Ukraine and local civilians and military administration advise the civilians not to delay with evacuation in places where there's active combat and also where there soon could be active combat. People who live in those settlements must keep track of the information and act without delay, and if they have possibility to leave those settlements and not to wait until the Russian bombs and rockets start falling there. More questions, please.
Can you say about the security of Zaporizhia?
If you mean, is it possible the further offensive of Russian troopers to Zaporizhia region? Do you understand your question properly?
And also this and all the dangers that are related with Zaporizhia.
Friends, as
the nuclear plant, the safety of the nuclear plant in Zaporizhia.
First, I want to say that the questions of security of critical infrastructure, I cannot comment because I represent the MOD. Regarding the Zaporizhia region, I can say the following. The analysis of current combat shows that the maximal reserves, the maximal equipment Russia focuses in Lugansk and Donetsk regions. In the rest of directions and in the rest of regions, the enemy more conducts distracting maneuvers. conducts aviation, missile, and artillery fire in the way, trying to prevent us from moving our forces, our defending forces, to the hottest places, speaking of Donetsk and Lugansk regions. Regarding the Zaporizhia region, we know that part of the territory of the Zaporizhia region currently is temporarily occupied by a Russian army. In relation to that, occupants are trying to, at all costs, hold ground there and are equipping the positions for possible defense and to prevent counteroffensive from armed forces of Ukraine. The same is relevant to Kherson region. Thank you. More questions? Do you understand properly that currently in Severodonetsk there are Ukrainian troopers in Severodonetsk? They have not fully moved from the city, as Mr. Gaidai said they would in the morning. I commend the actions of General Staff of Ministry of Defense, and I do not comment claims of representatives of local municipalities. Information regarding if part of if there are troopers in certain region, including Severodonetsk, this information is closed because it's related to the criteria that it's their actions of defenders related to defense. We're not speaking about it. I would like us all to focus on information provided by General Staff on Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. And I would like to call you and journalists and representatives of state municipalities to allow Armed Forces of Ukraine notify about Armed Forces actions within the framework of open information. It's very important. Do not damage the defense operation. The main thing is not to damage the operation. Let's wait for the official information from our forces. Please, let's then check it and believe in Armed Forces of Ukraine. Believe in Armed Forces of Ukraine. Thank you very much. Glory to Ukraine. Oleksandr Motuzianyk was with us, Speaker of the MOD of Ukraine. Dear friends, thank you for joining us. Please keep track of our agenda for next week and stay with us. Thank you.